So Dead by Daylight have just announced their developer update for July of 2021, and there's some interesting things in here that we need to discuss. Kings and queens, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. And Dead by Daylight have posted their developer update for July, as we mentioned, and it is pretty jam-packed with a lot of interesting information that we're going to break down for you guys. If you guys do enjoy, make sure you leave a like down below and subscribe if you are new to the channel. Let's not waste any time and let's jump on into it. So the first thing that we have on the list here are changes for the Trickster. Now this is something that's absolutely amazing. I've been waiting for Trickster changes for such a long time because Trickster, realistically speaking, is not one of the better killers. He's pretty weak, he's pretty low on the tier list. And sure, you can make him a little bit more viable with the right add-ons or gameplay and anyone can get a 4K with him. But overall, he isn't the best killer. So I'm very happy that Dead by Daylight have finally taken a glance at Trickster, and they're gonna buff him up, and let's see what they actually go on to talk about. The first change that we're going to be seeing for the Trickster is that the knives required to damage a survivor has now been reduced to 6. Beforehand, it used to be 8. Now, this is a huge change. This is something that a lot of us have been talking about on how we could change the Trickster and make him a little bit better. Typically, we just said that we just need to short him down one knife, that 8 was a little bit too much, and, you know, running with the add-ons to get it to 7 was quite nice, and it could have worked quite well. Well, they're actually pushing that down to 6, so we're going to see how that actually comes out, but in that situation, it's a pretty decent buff. The delay before laceration decay starts has been reduced to 10 seconds. This normally was 20 seconds, so that's obviously to help combat that it's only 6 knives instead of 8. And then the final thing that we have is the rate of decay for laceration has been increased to 0.3 while running and 0.4 overall time. So obviously this is to make way for the changes of reducing it from 8 blades to 6. They then went on to say that main event activation has now been shortened to 0.5 seconds instead of 1.5, which is amazing. So the animation where you throw up your knife and you have the whole main event going on will be half a second, which is lovely. You can instantly use it when you need to use it rather than giving distance. As small as it sounds, that's going to be a huge difference. They also said the number of knives required to activate main event has been increased to 30, which is great. They then went on to say increase the amount of time you can hold main event to up to 30 seconds instead of 10, which is so good. This is something that everybody has been wanting for the Trickster, making it so that you can basically use main event when you want to use main event and not just have it for a set limited amount of time and then being like, oh man, we can't really do anything now because our main event power is done. 30 seconds is way, way, way better. And in 30 seconds, when you have your power, you're more than likely to be already in chase with someone, so it works quite well. Now, there have been people in the community saying that, you know, this might be a bad change to Trickster and this might make him a little bit more boring. And, you know, when you're playing as Survivor and you're running against smaller loops and you throw the knives, it's just going to be almost like Old Legion where you can just, you know, stab them and get them down. Obviously not as bad as the Old Legion. And to some extent, I do agree with this because when you are just looping unsafe pallets, the only thing that you can do realistically is break line of sight so that they can't get an easy hit on you. And it's just a ticking time bomb until they do eventually hit you, which could lead to some poor chases. However, I still think that it could be quite interesting to see how this plays out before we jump the gun and just say, oh yeah, this is going to be terrible for both sides. So obviously we'll be getting this in the PTB, we'll test it out and we can give good feedback on it. And hopefully they'll listen to us and they can give us something amazing with the Trickster. But thus far, these changes sound pretty good. They're going to be buffing him up. And I think it's going to be pretty awesome to see how he performs against some top tier survivors. They go on to talk about a lot of the add-ons that have been changed. I would cover all of them, but realistically, there's just so many to talk about, so I will post a screenshot on screen right now. You're more than welcome to pause. I will take a look at iridescent photo card since it is an ultra rare. It says now when the survivor is 2 or fewer blades away from the maximum, they will be exposed. This will give you a larger window to work with. So rather than having 1 blade left, you now have 2. So in case you accidentally throw an extra blade, you still can get some benefit out of this iridescent add-on. And again, there is a lot of other changes. They then talk about No Way Out, and they said this perk can do quite a bit, but it can also be very inconsistent if you're missing a token or 2, or if the survivors are preoccupied when the gates are powered. So they said that they increased the base time of the perk to 12 seconds, increased the bonus time for each token to 6, 9, and 12, and the perk only activates when a survivor interacts with a gate for the first time, and you'll receive a loud noise notification when they do. This is amazing. This is going to be absolutely phenomenal. So now it guarantees that when someone touches the door, that they won't be able to actually go out the door and you'll know exactly where they're at. This is going to be a really awesome perk to run and make for some very interesting end game type builds and really put the pressure on the survivors, because as soon as they touch the gate, it'll get blocked up and you'll know exactly where they are, giving you some time to manage to get one of them. They also said these changes increase the potential maximum time from 46 to 60 seconds and ensure that it will be noticeable effect. They then talk about Hex crowd control, and it says increase the time a window stays blocked from 10, 12, 14 to 14, 17, and 20. Personally, I didn't use crowd control that much, so I didn't know if it needed this buff, so to speak. But hey, we're going to be getting that buff, so we'll see how that goes. So those are pretty much all of the Trickster and perk related changes. We can now move on to the Survivor visual update. Now, we spoke about this a lot of times in other videos where they mentioned that they were going to be changing the way that the survivors are going to be looking, and they gave us a long text of word here as well as pictures. I'll display the pictures up on screen right now of all the characters. We got Meg, David, Claudette, and Nia as I read what they wrote. They said, if you had an eye on our social media for a while, you may have seen some early previews for Survivor model updates. These visual updates were part of the realm beyond our ongoing effort to improve the visuals of the game. Some of you are dying to know when you'll see this updated game models in the game. You won't need to wait much longer, as the updated models will appear in the mid-chapter update. Our goal with these changes is not to change the characters significantly, but rather bring them up to date. We've been playing with these survivors for years, and some have grown very attached to them. This is part of the reason why we're sharing previews for so long. We've been combing through your feedback to make sure the updated versions of the Survivor are as similar as possible to the ones that we know and love. If you've been losing sleep over David King's smaller brow, you may rest easy. We've gone back and made some adjustments. So they're actually showing here adjusted models of what we've seen before. So obviously we had the very early preview. We all gave our feedback on how we felt about them. For example, with the one with Meg, I really didn't like the hair and her face was just a little bit too clean. They've made adjustments to that now. Her hair is different. She looks a lot better. David looks phenomenal now. Before I said that there was something missing. Claudette actually looks like Claudette now, and you can see that it's still her, but just updated models, and that is pretty much exactly what we were looking for and exactly what we were wanting. So that's pretty cool. We will be seeing those things coming out very, very soon in the mid-chapter update. The next thing on the list are updated tutorials. Finally, we have been needing some updated tutorials for a very long time. In fact, I'm working on a video on new players and how they could get better at the game, so you'll be seeing that soon, and hopefully this tutorial can, do what my video is trying to do and actually be a way in the game where survivors or killers can know how to play. So they said, in the upcoming mid-chapter, you'll find a pair of brand new tutorials, one for killer, one for survivor. We've learned a lot about what you want in tutorials, so we will cover more than the old ones. Each tutorial also takes place in a single continuous level. This way, everything flows together like a real match, just being controlled so things don't get out of hand. They said now a tutorial is great and all, but that doesn't compare to the hands-on experience. Before you jump into an online match, you can now practice in offline bot matches. This will let you try everything out you've learned in real-world scenario without the stress of other people watching. Bot matches are already available on the live version of the game. And they said finally we've added beginner tooltips to the menus. This is amazing. I'm so happy. We've been talking about bots coming into Dead by Daylight for such a long time, showing that there's rumored coding that this might happen. So it shows how long they've been working on this, and now it is finally here. Very similar to how DBD Mobile has their bot lobbies, and now we will have essentially bot lobbies, which isn't that different from what we normally play, considering some of the killers or survivors we might be seeing. But we'll actually have some AI bots that are being controlled that you can practice. You can play as killer or survivor, practice all your skills, which is huge for new players just trying to learn and get that edge. They then talk about HUD improvements, which is something I wasn't expecting, but I'm happy is here. They said that there's going to be new options to toggle the killer hook counter, score events, and player names in match, which is fantastic. I always said that anytime they change anything with HUDs or anything where it might be a little bit more controversial and you can have the option to just toggle things on and off from old or new or to be there or not to be there, give the option so players everywhere can be happy. So if you really vibe with it, you can keep it. If you don't vibe with it, you can get rid of it. And now you'll be able to get rid of a lot of these things. Personally, I know I'm going to be getting rid of the player names in matches just so we don't have any crazy names when we're streaming or making videos, so that'll be quite awesome. And I'm looking forward to a cleaner DVD. They then move forward to talk about, which is probably the biggest pressing issue in Dead by Daylight, game health, and specifically here in pallet hits. Now, we've seen Dead by Daylight talk about this a lot, saying that they would try to adjust pallet hits and make it a lot more clean. Obviously not an easy task, and thus far pallets are still wonky every single time. Every update, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So they basically reiterate what's going on, why we're seeing pallets work like this, and they actually drew up a couple of images, which I will show you on screen. And basically they're saying the survivor sees themselves throwing down the pallet before they get hit, the killer sees themselves hitting the pallet before the pallet is dropped, and the server obviously is trying to make sense of all of this. And they said, so what's going to change? They said, simply put, the server will become the judge when you either drop a pallet or swing a weapon that gets sent to the server. If the server receives a hit before the stun, the killer hits the survivor as they normally would, but if the server received the stun before the hit is rejected. This is similar to how hit validation works. The new diagram would look like this. So we're basically seeing how that's going to work. So they said that this solution is much more complicated. So this is two parts, a long-term solution and a temporary solution. They said that the temporary solution, whenever a grab is rejected by the server, the killer will instead swing the weapon automatically and be granted challenge, progress, and blood points as if they successfully grabbed a survivor. This way you won't lose out on the hit because the grab is cancelled, and you'll be easier time completing your archive challenges that require you to interrupt survivors. So now the diagram will look like this. And I said that the permanent solution, we will rework the way interactions and interrupts work from the ground up with dedicated servers in mind. Our current system has not been significantly changed since the days where killer was the server and had full authority over grabs. So that's going to be pretty interesting. And that is pretty much concluding everything that they spoke about here. So we can expect the grabs to work a little bit more like pallet hits and, you know, them changing everything and sending all the feedback to the dedicated server. So I'm looking forward to that and what they're going to be doing. I'm happy they're focusing a lot on game health as well, because that is probably the most pressing issue and what a lot of people have been wanting in the community. It'll be really nice if they focus on a lot more things in every single patch as well. But this is a start, and I'm happy to see that. And we're going to be making videos talking about more things that they could change and adjust to make the game a lot more viable and playable and enjoyable for everybody. But so far in this PTB, you can expect the Trickster changes, a lot of his add-on changes, 2 perk changes, all of the survivors being reworked. You'll also be seeing new HUD improvements and better pallet hits / grabs. So we'll see how that all feels. Nothing major like what we normally get in PTBs, where we get like 2 or 3 killers or maybe 1 killer that is fully reworked. And obviously we will be seeing some new maps getting reworked, as they always do in the PTBs. They just didn't mention it here, but we will keep you up to date on when that does happen. But quite a lot of interesting stuff for this patch, and once this is actually out in the PTB, we'll be playtesting it and showing you all of that good stuff. But my friends, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Let me know what you're excited about seeing. What are your thoughts? What are your opinions? I would love to hear. Shout out to the YouTube members, by the way. We now have launched our YouTube membership program, as I mentioned in a few videos back. And all of the proceeds and all the members that are there, everything that we get will be going to a charity. And this year, we're going to be going to fund ALS and any ALS charities that we have in mind. Obviously, on July 10th, I'm going to be playing with my team to show support for the ALS charity stream and in support of puppers. So I figured this would be a perfect charity for us to use with our YouTube membership. There's a bunch of content there if you want to go and take a look, and I'll be constantly updating it. The link will be down below if you want to join. The cheapest tier is only $1 a month, so it's completely up to you. Obviously, you would have to pay for this, so if you do have the means to financially support and to help with a great cause, I would highly recommend doing so. But if not, it is completely fine, and I thank you guys for all of the support and the love. But my friends, that is going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you didn't, leave a like down below, share this around with your friends, subscribe if you are new to the channel, and as always, I'm the King. I tip my crown to you guys, and we will see you in the fall.